I lost everything in one boardroom vote. My title, my seat at the table, the respect I spent years building. I thought the people closest to me would stand by me while I rebuilt, but instead my fiancé started acting strange, distant, colder. I blamed the stress, told myself I was just imagining things. Until I saw the messages. Until I checked the footage. Until I realized she wasn't just slipping away, she was already somewhere else, with my brother. The betrayal wasn't loud. It was quiet, calculated. And the worst part wasn't losing them. It was realizing I'd been living in a lie. One I thought was love. That's when I stopped trying to fix things and started finding the truth. What I uncovered wasn't just personal. It was a pattern, a history, a perfect image built on broken promises and power plays. I could have exposed her publicly. I could have gone after revenge. But instead I chose something else. This is how I lost everything and somehow walked away with more than I ever had. You don't really notice who's watching you until you're no longer in charge. When you're at the top, everyone smiles. Everyone returns your calls. Everyone pretends loyalty is the same thing as love. I used to think I had everything, not just the career, or the title, or the house with a view, but the people. A fiancé who stood beside me at every gala. A younger brother who looked up to me. Parents who finally said they were proud. We were the family that people envied, from the outside anyway. But that illusion fell apart the moment I lost my grip on the one thing that kept it all together. Power. It started with a board vote, simple, strategic, but brutal. I'd been groomed for leadership in our family business. Since I was 23, my father made it very clear that the legacy was mine to protect. But legacies come with strings. And behind every corner office is a knife waiting for the moment your back is turned. There had been pressure to diversify, modernize, shift into tech. I resisted. I believed in the old school way, the one that had built our empire from the ground up. But I didn't see the alliance forming behind me. Whispers at dinner parties, side meetings. My uncle, my cousin, even my own father, none of them said a word. Then one morning, I walked into a boardroom thinking I was about to sign off on a new project, and walked out with nothing. No vote, no title, no seat at the table. They said it was time for fresh energy. I just sat there stunned, like I hadn't even realized I was bleeding until I looked down and saw the wound. The first person I called was her Madeline, my fiancée. I needed to hear her voice. I needed to feel like at least one thing in my life hadn't shifted under my feet. She picked up on the second ring. Hey babe, everything okay? I told her everything, the vote, the blindsiding, the silence from people I trusted. There was a pause. Then she said, wow, I mean, are you sure it's final? Not, I'm sorry. Not, I can't believe they did that to you. Just, are you sure? That's when the shift started. Subtle, but I felt it. The warmth in her voice was cooler now. Like she wasn't talking to her future husband, she was talking to someone whose stock had just dropped. I tried to brush it off. Told myself she was just in shock too. But it wasn't just that one call. Over the next few days, the phone stopped ringing. People who used to text me every morning suddenly forgot I existed. My inbox went quiet. Invitations dried up. It was like I'd gone from someone to something disposable. And Madeline, she was still there, still showing up. But something had changed in the way she looked at me. Before, there was pride, excitement, affection. Now there was calculation. She started asking strange questions. What happens to the shares now? Are you still involved in the financial decisions? Will you still be on the holiday yacht trip with your dad? I'd try to smile, joke it off, but each question cut a little deeper. One night I asked her directly, do you still want to do this? The wedding? Us? She blinked, smiled. Of course, don't be dramatic. But her eyes didn't match the smile. And deep down, I knew I wasn't the man she agreed to marry anymore. Not in her eyes. The hardest part, I still loved her. Even as I started to question everything, I still held on to this hope that maybe she'd choose me. Not the position I used to hold. I started spending more time alone, sitting in that massive apartment we picked together, the one she now came home to later and later. I stared at the shelves full of wine she never let me drink, and the clothes she helped me pick out to look more media-friendly. I realized I'd built a life around appearances, around a version of myself that made everyone else comfortable. But that version was gone now, and what was left, I didn't know yet. All I knew was this. I had fallen, and the people I thought would catch me, they were already walking away. In the beginning, I tried to pretend things were normal. I told myself people were just giving me space, letting me process, but deep down, I knew better. When power leaves a room, the energy shifts. So do the people. Madeline still smiled, still kissed me goodbye every morning. But the smiles didn't last as long, and the kisses felt more like habit than affection. She stopped asking how I was doing. She didn't want to know, because if she knew, she'd have to care. What hit me hardest was the silence, not hers. Exactly, but the silence when I walked into a room. I'd step into the living room, and she'd suddenly stop texting. I'd walk past the study, and I'd catch the tail end of a hushed phone call, her voice a whisper, her tone careful. One night, I caught her on the balcony. She was laughing, not the kind of laugh you give a friend. This was light, flirtatious, effortless, the way she used to laugh with me. And when I stepped outside, she turned fast phone still in hand, eyes wide like she got caught stealing something small but important. She said it was her sister. I wanted to believe her, but something in my gut told me the truth was sitting just outside of reach, waiting to break the surface. Then came the little things. She started dressing differently around the house, not in the cozy, soft way she used to. Now it was full makeup at breakfast, high heels for no reason, always glowing, always ready, but never for me. She started going out more, just catching up with friends, she'd say, but I never met these friends, never saw pictures. And when I asked if I could come along, she'd smile and say, "It's just girl stuff, you'd be bored." I stopped asking. I told myself she was allowed her freedom, that the real problem was me. I wasn't fun anymore. I was moody, I was distant. I was licking wounds I didn't know how to explain, but then something happened that I couldn't ignore. One afternoon, I was looking for an old file in my home office drawer and I came across her tablet. I didn't mean to snoop, honestly. I was looking for a password I'd written down, but the screen lit up as I moved it, and I saw a preview of a message that changed everything. It was from my brother and it said, "Had a great time yesterday. You looked amazing." I just froze. I read it again and again. Tried to convince myself it was innocent. Maybe they'd run into each other. Maybe it was harmless, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. That night, I sat across from her at dinner. She was scrolling her phone, smiling like the world was fine. I asked her straight out, "Have you been spending time with my brother?" She blinked. "What? My brother?" I repeated. "You've been talking to him, meeting him." There was a beat of silence. Then she laughed. "God, you sound paranoid." I didn't laugh back. She set her fork down. "Look, I bumped into him at a gallery. He invited me for coffee. We talked. That's it. You've been so distant lately. I needed someone to talk to." I nodded, but something inside me cracked open, because I realized something then. It wasn't just that she was drifting away. It was that she'd already started planting herself somewhere else with someone else. And of all people, my brother. Growing up, he'd always been the charming one, the funny one, the one who never wanted the responsibility, just the spotlight. I always protected him, always pulled him out of trouble. And now he was the one comforting my fiancée when I was down. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there next to her, wondering how many things she hadn't told me, wondering how long she'd been looking past me. And the worst part, she didn't even notice, didn't ask why I was quiet, didn't roll over to hold me like she used to. She just drifted off to sleep, peaceful, while I stared at the ceiling and listened to every crack in the silence. I didn't have proof, not yet, but I had something more dangerous. I had suspicion, and once it sets in, it doesn't let go. I told myself I was going to find out the truth, whatever it took, because something wasn't just wrong, something was being hidden behind closed doors, and I wasn't going to let it stay hidden for long. I think there's a moment in every betrayal where the world just stops, not like time slows down, but like something inside you freezes, and in that stillness you suddenly see everything with terrifying clarity. That's exactly what happened to me the night I watched the footage. After all the silent dinners, the quick glances, the awkward energy, I had to know. I needed more than just instincts. I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a small hidden camera in the living room. Just one. I felt sick doing it, like I was crossing some line. But when your gut keeps screaming and no one's giving you the truth, what else do you do? It took a few days. Most of the footage was boring. Her scrolling on her phone, making tea, flipping through magazines, normal stuff. But then came Thursday. I almost didn't check that day's clip. I was exhausted, but something told me to look. And I'll never forget what I saw. It was around 2 p.m. I saw my brother walk in. He had his usual smug smile, like he owned the place. I hadn't even known he was coming over. She didn't look surprised. She was already dressed like she was expecting someone. Hair done. That same tight black dress she wore on our 3rd anniversary. She laughed when he said something, then touched his arm. Not by accident, not lightly. It was the kind of touch you don't give your fiancé's brother. And they didn't pull away. They sat down on the couch. Too close. Too familiar. And the way they looked at each other, it made my stomach twist. Then came the part that shattered whatever pieces of trust I had left. She leaned in. He didn't stop her. They kissed. It wasn't long, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, but that was all it took. I paused the video. My whole body was shaking. My mouth was dry. I kept rewinding, watching it again, hoping maybe I misread it. Maybe there was some innocent explanation, but there wasn't. That kiss wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an impulse. It was something planned, something comfortable. That's when the tears came. Not the loud, dramatic kind, just silent, steady. I didn't even realize I was crying at first. I just kept staring at the screen, trying to make sense of the person I thought I knew. My Madeline had kissed my brother, in my house, while I was trying to rebuild everything I'd lost in him. The same guy I bailed out when he wrecked our dad's car. The guy I lied for so he wouldn't get kicked out of school. The guy who hugged me when I got engaged and said, "You deserve this." He was kissing the woman I was going to marry. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move. I just sat there, replaying it all in my head. All the moments that suddenly made sense. The way she'd get defensive when I asked simple questions. The way he'd avoid me at family dinners. The way I always felt like I was missing something. And now I knew exactly what it was. The next morning, I didn't say a word. I made her coffee, like usual. She thanked me with a kiss on the cheek. I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, just emptiness. She talked about maybe going to the lake that weekend, said we could reconnect. I looked at her and thought, reconnect? With what? The lie we've been living. I didn't confront her, not yet. I wanted to. But something held me back. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what came next. Because once I said it out loud, everything would break. There'd be no going back. And I realized then, I wasn't scared of losing her. I was scared of losing the version of her I'd created in my mind. The one who loved me without condition. The one who believed in me when everything fell apart. But that version of her never existed. She wasn't loyal, she was strategic. And now I knew without a doubt that I'd just been a stepping stone, a safety net, until something shiny came along. It was betrayal in its rawest form, not just of love, but of trust, of brotherhood, of the quiet belief that some people would never cross certain lines. They did. And now it was my turn to decide what to do with the truth. Because the moment I saw them on that couch, the moment she kissed him like I didn't exist, something inside me shifted. I wasn't the broken man they thought I was. I was about to become something else entirely. After what I saw, most people would have stormed out, confronted her, maybe even called the wedding off right then. But I didn't. I couldn't. Something told me. This ran deeper. That what I'd seen wasn't the whole story. It was just the tip of something much darker. So I started digging. I began with little things. Her old social media accounts. Things she'd deactivated once we got engaged. I don't know what I was looking for exactly. But when someone breaks your trust like that, you start questioning everything. Every word, every moment, every memory. You wonder how much of it was real. What I found hit harder than I expected. Turns out, she was engaged before. Not once, twice. One of them I knew about barely. She mentioned him in passing once, called it a mistake. The second I had no clue. But that wasn't the shocking part. Both engagements ended the same way, right after the men had signed over partial control of something important to them. One owned a vineyard in Napa. The other ran a chain of boutique hotels. Each time she got close, built trust, made them believe she was Olin, and right before the wedding, boom, gone. No note, no explanation, just vanished. Both times she walked away with legal settlements tied to joint assets, small enough not to make headlines, but big enough to fund the kind of lifestyle she liked to post online. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just me. I wasn't the exception. I was the pattern. Then I remembered something my mom once said back when we first got engaged. She said, "There's something about her eyes. Like she's watching the room too closely." I brushed it off at the time, thought she was being overly protective, but now I knew. She was right. Madeline didn't love people. She studied them. The deeper I went, the more I saw the pattern. Friends who weren't really friends, just connections. Relationships that ended conveniently right before someone hit a rough patch. She didn't build bonds. She built strategies. She was a mirror, always reflecting back what you wanted to see. For me, she mirrored stability, grace, loyalty, but none of it was real. It was rehearsed, and I started to notice other things too. The subtle way she played my brother, the way she used silence to guilt me, the compliments that always came with a twist, like "you're brilliant, but you could be more ambitious," or "I love that you're grounded, even if it holds you back sometimes." They weren't compliments, they were corrections, tiny rewrites to shape me into what she wanted. But why? Why go through all this? Why fake an entire relationship? Why lie, manipulate, cheat? For what? And then it clicked. Power. It was always about power. I had it once. She latched on when I was rebuilding the family business. When people started calling me the next big name in the industry. She saw potential, a future empire. Not because she loved it, but because she wanted to stand next to it where it light, a crown. But when I lost that power, when the company got hit with lawsuits and I stepped down as CEO, her interest shifted. She didn't sign up to love a man. She signed up to inherit a throne. And when that throne crumbled, she looked for a new one, even if it meant jumping into my brother's lap. I felt sick, not just from what she'd done, but from how long I let myself believe the lie. There were signs, times she flinched when I got vulnerable, times she froze up when I asked simple things, like "Do you still want this?" She'd always smile and say, "Of course," but the smile never reached her eyes. I guess part of me didn't want to see it. I was in love with a version of her I created in my head, one that didn't exist. And when I finally laid it all out, the footage, the past engagements, the financial records, the lies, I realized something even more painful. She wasn't just manipulating me, she was using my love for her as a weapon, because love makes you blind. And she knew it, but I wasn't blind anymore. Everything she built, the perfect image, the charming fiancée, the public persona, it was all a mask. And behind that mask wasn't a misunderstood woman trying to find herself, it was a strategist. A hunter, and I was just the next name on a long list of men she broke on her way to something bigger. But not this time. This time, The story was going to end differently. I thought exposing her would feel like revenge, like standing on a mountaintop screaming the truth to the world finally being seen. But when the moment came, it wasn't about her. It wasn't even about my brother. It was about me. And what I finally decided I wouldn't carry anymore. I spent weeks gathering everything, every message, every photo, the security footage, the paper trail of her past engagements. I could have gone to the tabloids, could have posted it online and let the world rip her apart, but I didn't. I waited for the right moment. The one she never saw coming. It was our engagement party. We'd postponed it twice, once because of the scandal in the company, and once, supposedly because she said she didn't feel it was the right time. But she changed her mind suddenly after I told her I was thinking of rejoining the board. That's when I knew. She wasn't back for love. She was back for power. Everyone was there that night. Family, old business partners, friends who had once whispered their loyalty and now whispered their doubts. I stood there looking at the woman who once held my heart, laughing in a dress she didn't pay for, smiling at people she didn't care about. Then I took the mic. I looked around and thanked everyone for being there. Said it meant the world. Said this night was special not because of the decorations or the champagne, but because it was the first time in my life I was finally choosing truth over performance. People laughed politely. They didn't know what was coming. And then I told the story. Not with anger, not with drama, just honesty. I said there was a time when I thought love was enough to ignore red flags, a time when I thought loyalty meant silence, that if you loved someone, you protected them even from their own lies. But I was wrong, because silence doesn't protect people, it protects betrayal. I told them what I'd seen, what I'd learned. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. Everyone knew. The room shifted. Madeline's face went pale. My brother froze, and when I was done, I simply said, "I'm not angry, I'm free." I handed the mic back, walked over to Madeline, and slipped the ring from her finger, not in anger, not to humiliate her, but to return something that was never meant for me. She didn't say a word, and neither did my brother. I walked out that night with nothing to prove, because for the first time in years, I knew exactly who I was, and I wasn't the broken heir. I wasn't the failed fiancé. I wasn't the man they laughed at after I lost my seat at the table. I was something better. I was whole. You see, power makes you visible, but pain makes you real. And when you walk through betrayal and come out standing, you stop needing to be feared or admired. You start needing something simpler. Peace. I moved out of the apartment, started over, smaller place, fewer people. But for the first time in a long time, every corner felt mine. People talk. They always will. Some say I embarrassed her. Some say I was bitter. But I don't care what they say, because I didn't expose her to destroy her. I exposed the truth to reclaim myself. Madeline built her life on mirrors, perfect angles, perfect timing. She knew how to become exactly who you wanted until she didn't need you anymore. But I'm done with mirrors. I'm done with rooms full of shallow applause and empty smiles. I don't need a title to know my worth. I don't need a ring to prove I can love. And I don't need revenge to move on. What I needed was closure. And I gave that to myself, because sometimes you lose everything you thought mattered just to realize what really does. I lost my title, but I took back my worth, and honestly, I wouldn't trade that for anything.